Hey, welcome back. Now in this video we're going to go ahead and start adding some of the finishing touches and creating some of the last parts of this night vision scope. So let's go ahead and get that done. What we're going to work on this one is creating this little detail piece here. We're also going to create this little LED light that's right here. We're also going to create this top railing here that connects to a headset piece for the night vision scope. And then we're going to create this switch that's back here, and then of course we're going to look and see what other little details we can add to increase the realism and the visual appeal of this model. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is create these two little pieces that are up here. So those are really simple to do. As you can see, we could create them using some cubes. So let me double click the image clip viewer to get rid of it for now. I'm going to go to primitive polygon mesh and create myself a cube. Close the PPG. We don't need it. So let's scale this thing down real small. Bring it down, put it on top of this object. You have to flatten it down. Flatten, of course, the width. Let's look at the image again. Now we never see the bottom of it, so we don't need that polygon that's on the bottom of this object. So in other words, we can select this bottom polygon and simply delete it. Let's move it over to the side here. Move it down right into the object like this. Look at the image again. It goes from about this groove here all the way to the back over there. So let's take this polygon, move it to about right here. Let me see. It seems to actually pass over that groove. But I'm going to put it to about right here. Is good. I'm going to select the back polygon, move that one back like this to about there. Let me look at the image again. I'm going to take the top polygon, move it up a little bit. Just a bit, not too much. Actually, it might have been too much. About right there is pretty good. I'm going to grab the whole thing and move it over to the side. And I'm also going to scale the width a little bit because it was a little bit too thin. As far as I could tell. I'm going to move it down into the object more. Take that top polygon, move it up a little bit. Okay, that looks better. Okay, now next thing I'm going to do is hit Control D to extrude this top polygon, pull it up, and now I'm just going to scale it like this. And that's pretty good. Maybe I scaled it a little bit too much. Like that. Okay, so once I scale it there, like so, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to harden the edges. I'm going to go to sub D mode. So I'll do that by hitting the plus on the plus key on the number pad of the keyboard. And you can see how it looks. I'm going to go to edge mode. And what I'm going to do is hit Control and A to select all the edges. Then I'm going to right click on the object. So I'm in the tagged edges menu. And I'm going to go down to mark hard edge / vertex. And when I do that, it all gets hardened and gets straight edges. So we can mark it hard or soft. So now it looks more like the picture with these hard edges. And if we do a render region, we'll see it has some hard edges. So let's close that, and there we go. That one's done. So now the next thing is to create the one on the other side over here, which is not hard to do at all. With the object selected, Alt right click on top of the object here. Select the object first, of course. Alt and right click on top of the object. Let's go to Symmetrize Polygons. We want to switch to the Z axis. Make sure you're in global mode, because if you're in local, this is what happens. You want to be in global mode. And there we go. Now we have those two parts. Okay. Now we have those parts taken care of. Let's create this little piece that goes here on the side. So again, we can create that using a Polygon mesh cube. Close the PPG. Again, we don't need it. I'm going to move this over. You have to scale it down, of course. Move it up into position there. Move it close to the body here of this of the night vision goggles. It has to be sort of in the front right here. So it's not going to be in the middle. It's going to be more over here. I'm going to take this polygon here. I'm going to move it in close to sort of get the width of this thing that's right there. If you look at the picture, you can see it's pretty thin. Something like that actually is pretty good. So we can see the size of this thing here in the picture. What I'm going to do is bring it up to about right here. I'm going to scale it down a little bit like this. That may have been a bit too much. Let me scale it back up a bit. Okay. Look at my image again. Just trying to get this shape out that's right there. What I'm going to do instead is scale it down this way. Should be the smarter thing to do. So let's scale it down this way like this, and now what we're going to do is simply take and extrude some polygons here. I'm going to take this polygon, I'm not going to extrude it, I'm going to pull it down like this. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edge mode here with ray casting, and I'm going to select this edge, Alt and middle mouse button, click that edge to select the whole ring. I'm going to right click and I'm going to, sorry about that. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to, let's go to subdivide edges evenly, cut it down the middle. Select this edge, Alt middle mouse button, click that edge to select the entire loop all the way around. Right click, let's go to bevel. Then let's go to polygon ray casting mode, select this polygon, Alt middle mouse button, click that polygon. And that should select the entire loop of polygons all the way around. Now let's scale them. So it goes up like this. And now, let's just take this polygon, shift select that polygon, hit Control D to extrude, and pull them into the object like this. And then hit delete to get rid of those polygons that we just created. Okay. That's pretty good. Let me move it up a little bit. Let me just try to position it better. Okay, it's positioned a little bit better now. I'm going to take some edges here, like this edge, and move it down like this. I'm just going to take some of these edges and move them around a little bit. Like that. Okay, let me turn this into a sub D. Let's hit the plus key on the keyboard to do that, of course. Now what I'm going to do is start to, well, detail this thing. So let me select this edge, Alt middle mouse button, click that edge. That'll select all the entire ring of edges. Right click, let's go to subdivide edges evenly. Let's select that edge, Alt and middle mouse button, click that edge there. We're going to right click and we're going to go to bevel. Let's increase the size of the distance to about right there to make that nice and sharp. Okay, pretty good, pretty good. Let me go down the subdivision levels using the minus key to do that, of course. I'm going to select that edge up there, Alt and middle mouse button, click that edge down there. Now select the entire ring of edges. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to subdivide edges evenly, select the edge, Alt and middle mouse button, click that edge there to select the entire loop. Right click. Let's go to bevel components and increase the distance. And at the same time, I'm going to go back to sub D mode so I can see what's going on. And increase the distance to about right there is pretty good. Make that nice and sharp. Now it still doesn't look like the one from the picture because we have to sharpen the inside up a little bit. So let's do that pretty easily. Go to edge mode, select this edge, Alt then middle mouse button click one of these edges over here. I'll select the entire ring of edges. Right click and subdivide edges evenly. Now select this edge, Alt and middle mouse button click that edge to select the entire loop, as you can see. Right click and let's go to bevel components. If we increase the distance, that's not going to do us much good. So let's go to polygon mode for ray casting. Select that polygon, Alt and middle mouse button click that polygon. Now to select all these polygons in the middle and simply scale them up to they get to the edge right there, and that sharpens that up for us. So now it looks like the picture. Okay, now the one in the picture isn't sticking out as much, so let's take this thing and push it inward like this a little bit, and that solves that problem altogether. So if we do a quick run to region, we see that we have that part. So we got that part done. Now we have to do is create this little LED light that goes right there. So let's do that. That's actually very easy to do. We'll go to primitive polygon mesh and pull up a cylinder. Change the base and the V subdivisions to 1 and 1. Let's bring this cylinder over here. We have to rotate it on its side, the Z axis, 90 degrees, or negative 90 works too. Doesn't really matter. And we're going to move this, scale it down, try to get it to be that size right there. So let's move it in like this, maybe scale it down. Move it into about right here. That's where it needs to go. Maybe a little bit closer to the edge. About right there is pretty good. And the size looks pretty good too. I'm going to sub D the object. And we need to, let's pull this guy out. We need to delete the polygons in the back. These polygons here we don't need, so let's hit delete to get rid of them. Let's push this back into the object like this. Let's take these front polygons here, extrude them once, pull it out just a little tiny bit, extrude again, pull it out a little bit too. Then we're going to extrude again and scale down. So we're going to scale that in to make that little hole right there. And that looks pretty good right here. So I'm going to hit Control D to extrude again, make a little extrusion. Control D to extrude again, make another little scale down. And then I'm going to hit Control D to extrude again. This time I'm going to pull inward like this. And I'm probably just going to pull to about right here. I'm going to hit Control D, and this time I'm going to pull back out this way, like this. Then I'm going to hit Control D again and extrude downward like this and pull out a little bit. That's going to give us kind of that little bubble LED shape right there that we're looking for. There we go. Very nice. Let's look at the image. Make sure that the placement's correct. You can see we have to move it more toward the edge like this. And we also have to move it into the object a little bit more like this. Okay, that's not bad. A little bit hard to see from there. Okay, there we go. So now we got that part done. Now we have to work on doing that switch that's on the other side. This switch over here. It's a little bit hard to see, but I can tell pretty much what kind of switch it is just by looking at it right there. So let's go ahead and create, let's go to primitive polygon mesh. We'll create another cylinder. Take the V and the base subdivisions down to 1 and 1. Move it over. This time we're going to rotate it on the x-axis, so knock it about 90 degrees on its side. I'm going to flatten it by scaling it down. It's got to be pretty close like this. We're not going to need the polygons on this side, so I'm going to take those polygons and delete them. Now I'm going to move this object in here. I'm going to scale it down like this to lower the radius a bit, and I'm going to place it about right there. Seems like that's going to be the best spot for this switch or whatever to go. Okay, so about right there, that's a pretty good size. Okay, let me subdivide it a few times. I'm going to select these polygons, hit Control D to extrude them. Pull them out just a little bit, hit Control D to extrude again. Pull out just a little bit to sharpen that up real nice. And if we render that, there's our little disc piece. Or basically the base of where this switch is going to go. So now let's create the switch. Now the switch we can actually create, believe it or not, from a simple polygon cube. So let's go to Primitive Polygon Mesh Cube. Close the PPG, don't need it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my transform menu, left click to open it, and I'm going to go to match translation is what I'm going to go to. And then XSI is going to ask me to pick which object I want it to match up to. I'm going to pick that disk object that we just created. That's going to place the cube exactly where it needs to go. Now this cube is positioned exactly where we need it to. So I'm going to scale it in like this to start to get that shape of the switch that we're trying to do, which is going to be something like this. Now what I need to do is select this edge, Alt and middle mouse button, click that edge. That'll select the entire ring, which it should have, and it did. And before we split this, however, let me go to object mode, pull this out, and we can see we do need to scale it down a little bit more like this right there. And we don't need this polygon in here because we'll never be able to see it. We don't need it, so let's delete it. That helped to give us the shape that we need as well. Okay, so now with this switch or whatever in place, let's go ahead and start to detail it. Go back to edge mode. You should still have all of these edges selected, which I do in this case. Right click. We're going to split these evenly. So go to subdivide edges evenly. Close that. Don't need it. I'm going to select this edge. Hold down shift and select that edge right there. Then we're going to scale. Make sure that global and COG are turned on. Turn off symmetry there. And scale this in like this. Let's turn this into a sub D. Hit the plus key on the number pad of the keyboard to do that. I'm going to select this edge, Alt and middle mouse button, click that edge there. Now select the entire ring. Right click, go to split edges with split control. Move this split toward the edge to sharpen that up. What we need to do is, let's first of all, with this object selected, go here to our camera icon and turn on isolate selection. Hit T on the keyboard to go to point mode. Select these points, hold down shift, and select all those points down there. Let's scale them out like this to make that part a little bit wider, the way it's supposed to be. Let's look at our picture. Okay, so you can see that is supposed to be wider. I'm going to go to edge mode. I'm going to select this edge, Alt and middle mouse button, click that edge down there. Select the entire ring. Right click and go to subdivide edges evenly. Select, go to point mode. Select all the points on the top there. Hold down shift and select all those points in the bottom. Go to the scale tool and scale this up just a little bit like that. We don't need too much, just a very subtle and soft amount. Now what we're going to do is go back to edge mode with ray casting. Select this edge, Alt and middle mouse button, click that edge to select the whole ring. We're going to right click and we're going to go to split edges with split control. Move the split all the way to the top, or very close to the top I should say, to about right there to sharpen that part up. We're going to do the same down here, so select this entire ring of edges right here. Right click, split edges with split control, and move that split down toward the bottom so it's pretty close and sharpens that up real good. Okay, so now we got something that looks more like the switch that we're trying to make. Still doesn't look sharp enough though in my opinion, so let's detail it a little bit and give it some more sharpness. So let's select this edge, Alt middle mouse button, click that edge to select that ring, right click, go to split edges or split control, and we're going to move this split close to the back over here to sharpen that up even more. If we do a render region, we can see it's pretty sharp now. Still want to sharpen these top parts, so let's select this edge, Alt middle mouse button, click that edge. That selects that ring of edges. Right click. Let's go to split edges or split control. Move this split up to sharpen that up real good. About right there is pretty good. There we go. Now that looks nice. Let's do the same thing to the bottom down here. So we're going to go with split edges or split control after selecting that ring. And about there's good. Okay, so there's the little switch, just like in the picture. Excellent. Let's go up here to our camera icon, turn off isolate selection, and since we positioned this correctly from the start, we don't have to make any changes to the position of that switch. So there's the switch. Now to give it more of a realistic look, we're going to change the position of the switch. In other words, we're going to rotate it. So let's use the rotate tool, maybe rotate that, maybe like that's good. Really doesn't matter where it's rotated to, but I think it just adds more randomization, more realism to the model if we do that. Okay, so that's pretty good right there. Let's look at the image, see what else we need to model. We got this top part, we got the eyepiece, we got these little details and things. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. Right, so I'm going to end this video here, and in the next video we're going to add some final touches to this, maybe fix some proportion issues and symmetrize whatever needs to be symmetrized and export it out and be done with it. So we'll do that in the next video.